So, over the weekend, people in Berlin, Germany had a very controversial climate referendum on their latest net zero targets. We've got the official outcome of that referendum, and let's just say the establishment are not too happy about the result. Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend in Berlin with this climate referendum. But throughout the day, we have a lot of video updates for you guys. We've got so many breaking news stories coming our way, including 2 p.m. if you're watching this at the time when I'm uploading it. 2 p.m. live right here on this channel. We're going to give you the SMP leadership election results. So stay tuned on that as well. But let's talk about Berlin. Yes, the climate referendum on the going completely net zero. It's not a full net zero, it's 95% net zero in Berlin by 2030 has massively failed. Yes, it failed because they didn't reach their own threshold. So the idiots didn't even know how to organize it properly. And they thought, well, let's just go with the status quo. Everything's going to be fine. Now, this Berlin referendum aimed for a 95% reduction in net carbon dioxide emissions by 2030 compared with 1990 levels. So basically, they decided to rush the plans, the original plans that they had, which was supposed to be, quite later on, like 2045. And they thought, well, let's just bring it forward 15 years and let's just pretend that it's realistic. And let's just pretend that everybody in Berlin, all the hipsters, are going to be so excited with the plans. They're going to come out and vote in the referendum. They didn't come out to vote. Absolute failure. So what happened exactly? In terms of the numbers, they've been protesting. They had all these movements and all the hippies came out and thought, well, we got enough people. We've got so many young people living in Berlin and they're going to vote. Well, 25% of eligible votes cast needed to be yes. That's about 608,000 people in Berlin. But that didn't happen. Even 25%, they couldn't get it. I don't understand whether people were, and all these virtue signalers in Berlin who were going around becoming vegan left, right, and center. But shortly before the end of the count, according to Reuters, there were around 423,000 votes in favor and around 405,000 votes against. The quorum for a successful referendum would have been around 608,000 votes in favor of the proposal, which didn't reach. So, basically, massively failed. And we know exactly what they're going to do next. What do they do in Europe when they lose referendums, the establishment? We'll do another referendum. We'll do another one. Or they could just completely change the constitution, as they do usually. They do the same thing in the Republic of Ireland at some point when it comes to all the treaties with the European Union. If they want to do their net zero by 2030, they're going to attempt to do it. They're going to fail because it's not a realistic target unless you're going to wipe out half of humanity and things are going to get even worse for the establishment. But it's not going to happen. And if you have realistic targets for clean air and clean water and things like this, everybody's in favor of that. But not with your crazy ideas. Not your ideological Marxist crazy ideas that you want to control the world. Anyway, let's get back into this. Because we've got politicians in Germany, few politicians in Germany, in Berlin's state department and Senate, believe that the 7-year target is enough to make the transition into renewables. And they were concerned about short-term costs to a legally binding deadline, which have incurred. I mean, obviously, that makes sense. I mean, there are still some sensible, logical politicians around, even in Europe. But at the same time, the masses the majority, silent majority, who don't really come out to vote for these measures, or they stay at home, or they vote no. And then you've got the politicians who are listening to their constituents. It doesn't really matter because the whole of the institutions and the establishment have been infiltrated by the Greta Thunberg robots, and they're all the same. They're going to continue with their attempts to push their own agenda, even if that means that taxes are going to go higher, even if that means that you're going to have to freeze in the winter and not heat your home. But it doesn't matter because they're going to try and try and try. In this channel, we're also going to try and hold them to account every single day. So the best thing you can do is support independent new media by subscribing to the channel. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.